参れ、関野。たぎってきた。行くぞ、関野。やれ。見事じゃ、赤炉。さらば。
That was Ishin the Sword Saint, the final boss of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Ishin is the founder of Ashina, a warrior who believes that strength comes from resolve, not immortality. Even in death, he represents the game's core lesson. Survival demands action, and hesitation leads only to defeat. And with that aside, I will now describe or tell you what the plot of Sekiro is. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice begins in the land of Ashina, a region locked in constant conflict. You play as Wolf, a shinobi sworn to protect the divine air, a young lord whose blood grants the power of immortality. When Ashina falls under attack, Wolf fails his duty. The divine air is taken and Wolf is left for dead. his loyalty seemingly meaningless. Wolf survives, revived by the power of the diviner's blood. Driven by loyalty, he returns to Ashina Castle to rescue his master. Here, Wolf faces a powerful warriors and former allies, each fighting for their own vision of Ashina's future. The castle becomes a battlefield not just of steel but of ideals. Beyond the battlefield lies Senfu Temple, a place once devoted to discipline and faith. In pursuit of immortality, its monks abandon their humanity. Their experiments reveal one of the game's central questions: what happens when the fear of death outweighs the value of life? As Wolf travels deeper, the search for immortality spreads beyond humans. In the sunken valley, nature itself is twisted by the desire to survive beyond death. The line between life and decay begins to blur, showing that immortality does not preserve, it corrupts. Wolf eventually reaches Fountainhead Palace, the sources of the Divine Dragon and the origin of immortal power. Here, immortality is revealed not as a blessing but as a cycle, one that traps both gods and mortals in endless repetition. When Wolf returns to Ashina, the land is consumed by fire and war. The pursuit of power has left nothing untouched. Ashina does not fall because of weakness, but because no one was willing to let go. Ishin, the Sword Saint, stands out as the final test. Unlike others, he does not cling to immortality. He accepts death without regret, embodying the lesson Sekiro has taught from the beginning. Growth requires action, and hesitation is defeat. Sekiro is just not a story about victory, but about discipline, resolve, and knowing when to move forward. Through its world and its challenges, the game shapes how the player thinks and how hesitation can cause more than failure itself. And now, with that aside, I will give my review of the game. But of course, I will not simply give an insight or a review without having factors. So I do. And I have three of them. First off, the story. Secondly, the world building. And lastly, the characters themselves. Beginning with the story, I may be biased with this as I have played the game multiple times already, but it is a 10 out of 10 for me. In fact, an 11 out of 10. The story is rich, everyone and everything has a story to tell. Descriptions are so detailed and connected with one another that you can simply learn the game's lore by simply reading the in-game items themselves. It truly is rich. But it does not stop there. The world building of Sekiro is another factor that I will commend for its excellence. Each section can be explored as the game wants the player to learn more about the history of everything and not just restrict the player into a specified direction. Sections of the map can be explored freely and have items that will benefit you in the long run. Moreover, these sections tell a story about what they are and what they hold, not just what they are for the game. Now, the characters. They are absolutely well written, each and every single one of them. Especially the boss fight behind this, or rather this Wool voiceover. The character being fought in here is Ishin the Sword Saint. Ishin the Sword Saint. As I have mentioned before, Ishin is the final boss of the game. He is actually the lord or the holder of Ashina itself. Ashina is actually based from an actual province in Japan, and the game is also based from feudal Japan in the Sengoku period. But aside or less more of that, overall the game is a 10 out of 10. This is again without bias, or some may find it with bias, but for me, it is a 10 out of 10. And I hope really that it gets a sequel or a DLC. A DLC is basically a new update or an additional information or resources regarding a certain game. And since this is a game that I am really fond of, I truly wish that the developer of this game will give it a DLC that is worth playing. That is all. Now enjoy the rest of this battle.